We have seen about the various logos that were used for Bitcoin, and then we have seen the how this Bitcoin address is generated. Okay, using elliptical cryptography, we were able to generate the public and private key pairs, and from the public key, how we are able to generate the Bitcoin address. So we have seen that the public key it undergoes hashing twice, and then it undergoes a byte 58 check encoding, and finally we'll get the Bitcoin address. Okay, so we have discussed about all those things in the previous class, and also we have seen there are various denominations in the Bitcoin, right? And so today we will see about the transaction. So what a transaction is, how the transaction takes place, and so on. Okay, so in this Bitcoin blockchain, this transaction is the fundamental building block. Okay, this transaction is the main thing. So a blockchain, it is a chain of blocks or a collection of blocks, and then each block is a collection of transactions. So transaction is the fundamental building block. And here it is the operation in which, so the transaction is something where we are going to transfer the value from one party to another party, okay, between the sender and the receiver in a secure way. And here it is, in the case of Bitcoin network, we are going to transfer the Bitcoins. So how we are going to transfer is that, if you're when you are going to transfer some money from one account to another account, you will have the bank details, right? You will have the bank account, you will have an account number, right? So if you want to transfer money to someone else, then you will ask for their account number, so that you will be able to transfer money to their account number. So similarly here, we are going to transfer money from one person to another person using the Bitcoin address. Okay, so you will have your Bitcoin address, and the receiver will also have your Bitcoin address. So when you transfer money, you are going to send it to the another Bitcoin address. Okay, so from one Bitcoin address to another Bitcoin address, we will be transferring the amount. Okay, so in terms of Bitcoins. And here, in every transaction, there will be at least one input and one output. Okay, so we will see what that input and what is that output is. So input, basically, it is like your debiting. Okay, so okay, input something is like debiting against a Bitcoin account. Okay, you are getting some, or it can be called as the spent money. Okay, spent amount. And on the other side, the receiver will be receiving that amount. Okay, that is like crediting. Okay, so on one side, input, actually it is not the meaning that you are getting in. Okay, it is like spending. Okay, your the amount that is spent. Okay, or you are debiting from your Bitcoin account. And on the receiving side, it is like crediting. Okay, so it is in their Bitcoin account, the Bitcoin will be credited into. So each transaction will have at least one input and at least one output. So the can see here. So input can be thought of as coins being spent. So the amount that you are being spent, or amount that is debited from your Bitcoin account. Okay, so that is the input. And how you are getting this input is, you would have been received it in your previous transaction from someone else, maybe. Okay, or it may be created also. Okay, so if suppose if you are a mining node, and if you have validated a particular block, and then as a reward you would have got a Bitcoin value. Okay, so either it would have been created, or it would you would have received it in the previous transaction. So now you wanted to spend it. Okay, the coins being spent is called as the input, and output is the coins being created. That means now on the receiving end, he is crediting he is getting the amount. Okay, so for him it is that, so that is the output, the coins being created, or it is sent to the other account. So in the case of if you are creating the new coins, okay, when a new coin is created, there is no need for input, or there is no need for signature along with that coin, okay. But if you are going to send bitcoins to another user or another Bitcoin address, then you have to sign it, okay, using your private key. So we have studied a lot about this private and public key. So before sending your amount or the Bitcoin Bitcoin money to another person, then first you have to sign it with your private key, okay. And and also you need to give so from where you have got this money, okay. So in the physical money, it is not at all possible, okay. In the physical money that we are handling, we do not know from where this 100 rupees note that you are having comes from, okay. It would have come from various sources, and you would not be able to track from where it has come. But here the you also need to give the reference. One thing is, when you are sending the coin to some other user, first one is it should be signed by the sender with their private key, okay. That is one thing. And the next one is, you also need to give the reference of the previous transaction, okay. A reference is also required to the previous transaction in order to show the origin of the coins. So that is the advantage of Bitcoin. You will be able to track till the beginning, okay. So from where this money has been created, okay, who has created this money, and after that who has used that, from there who has made the transaction, okay. So it is a link. So already you would have seen every block in a blockchain, it is having a link with the previous thing, okay. So and here, or even for the transaction, the where the Bitcoin starts, okay, where this Bitcoin has been created, and from there to whom it has been transferred, from there whom it has to be transferred, okay, it's shown. So even after multiple transfers, you will be able to track down who is the where is the origin of that particular money, okay. So that is possible. So now this coins, we call it as unspent transaction outputs, okay. That is represented in satoshis. I hope you remember this term satoshis. That is the least value of this Bitcoin, okay. The basic thing in the basic unit in Bitcoin, okay. And after doing these transactions, the transactions are not encrypted, and they are publicly available in the blockchain networks. Several blockchain explorers are there, where you will be able to identify the transactions and when it has happened and so on, okay. And so this, the blocks are made up of transactions, and these can be viewed using any online blockchain explorer. So there are several blockchain explorers available. Okay, there is one tab I have shown you. So this is a Bitcoin Explorer. So you can see, search the transaction address or block. If you know any Bitcoin address, then you can search and see. Okay, you can see here. There are several, the latest blocks is given here, the most recently mined blocks. So all the transactions that is happening, everything is publicly available, okay. So you can see who is the miner of that particular block and how much time, so when it is mined, okay, 10 minutes it took to mine that block, and what is the size of the block and so on, okay. And you can see here the latest transactions. So you see that it is keep on updating. Now the time is 11:25, and there were some transactions going on in the blockchain network. So it keeps on updating, okay. This in this blockchain explorer, they keep on updating the transactions. So all these transactions are publicly visible, and okay, so you can see for everything the hash value is there, when the time when it is done, and amount in terms of Bitcoin and amount in terms of US dollars. Okay, all these were all publicly available in your blockchain explorer. So there are several explorers like this. You can search for any transaction that has happened already, and you'll be able to do that. Okay, so these are all the unconfirmed transactions. Okay, so you can see here, submitted to network but have not yet been included in a block. So all these transactions are just now happening. Okay, so now, as you know, after a transaction has happened, before it is added into the block, it should be validated by the miners. Okay, so now all these transactions which are shown here, these are all unconfirmed transactions. That means it is not yet mined or validated and added into the block. Okay, so you can just go and explore it. Okay, so the transactions, it can be viewed using any online blockchain explorer. So we'll see some example, okay, how this happens. So now it is, I don't know whether it is visible to you. Alice first retail transaction. So this Bitcoin, now you know that everywhere when you go, you have several options for paying your money. Okay, you need not carry your purse with the physical money, but you can simply so in every shop they will be having this QR code mechanism where you can show that your card or this or something, and you can pay your money digitally, right? So similarly here also in Bitcoin also, the first transaction, some retail transaction has been happened to Alice. Okay, so she is buying a cup of coffee from Bob's coffee shop. So, but the thing is, the retail shop should be able to receive that or accept that Bitcoin payments. So, in Bob's cafe, there is a possibility, or there is a provision for that, and his point of sale system, it automatically converts the US dollars to Bitcoin. Okay, so the price of the coffee is very minimum. It is only $1.5, but that is converted to Bitcoin value, and so using the so for every payment request, the QR code will be created, and based on that, the so there are several wallets available. Okay, each person will be having a wallet. So like how you hold your purse to keep your money, like similarly we have several digital wallets where you can keep your Bitcoin addresses, and from one Bitcoin address to another Bitcoin address, you will be able to transfer the money. Okay, and so you need to say what is the amount you are sending to whom, to which Bitcoin address. Okay, so I'm not sure whether you are able to see that. You can see recipient address. Okay, and there is a Bitcoin address given, and so the amount is given here in terms of Bitcoin, and so when you send, it will be you will be sending it to the Bitcoin address to whom you are sending. Okay, and this actually we have seen already the first class, I think so. Transaction requested by Alice is bundled into a block with other transactions. So now we have seen in that blockchain explorer there are several transactions happening. So now actually what happens is all these transactions will be in a pool. Okay, it will be in a pool of transactions. From there, so once the pool gets filled, okay, the transactions will be bundled together as a block, and that will be sent for validation. Okay, so the block will be broadcasted to all the mining nodes in the network, and when a particular node a mining node when it validates that or when it validates all the transactions by using the proof of work algorithm. Okay, so the proof of work is the so this is a mathematical puzzle, you can say. Okay, so it has to validate the transactions by solving that puzzle, and once it is solved, then it will be propagated to all the nodes that the thing is the particular block is validated, and whoever has mined or validated that block will receive some award in terms of bitcoins. Okay, or he'll be able to create a new bitcoin for as a mark of for his as a wage. Okay, because he has done a lot of computational work and has spent so much, so he'll be awarded with the bitcoins. So when a transaction happens, it tells the network that the owner of some Bitcoin value. Okay. So now if you are having a Bitcoin, so you are the owner of that, owner of Bitcoin, some Bitcoin value has authorized the transfer of that value to another owner. Okay. And now you are giving to, for example, A gives to B. Okay. Now B is the new owner. So the new owner can now spend the Bitcoin by creating another transaction, and where he gives it to another person C. Okay, he authorizes the transfer to another owner, and so this is a chain of ownership. So that is what we have seen. We'll be able to identify the origin of the transaction, or we'll be able to see the origin of the money, Bitcoin. Okay, where this particular Bitcoin has been originated from that place, from to whom it is sent, from there it to whom it is sent. You can keep on tracking till date. Okay, so the transactions will happen like that, and you can see in this particular picture, it is something like, okay, this transactions is something like writing the double entry bookkeeping. So when you would have seen your parents or your grandparents, they would be writing down, right? This much amount of money has been received and how much we have spent, what is the balance. Okay, it is like writing a ledger book. So you can see there are some input values. That means, so these inputs are the spent values. Okay, the spent bitcoins. This many bitcoins we are spending, and on the other side, so someone will be receiving that, crediting. Okay, and difference between input and output will give you the miner's fee. Okay, or we can say that a transaction fee. So for every transaction that happens, we need to pay a transaction fee. Okay, so the transaction fee will be automatically, you should include that also along when you're doing the transaction. Okay, so that this difference between the inputs and outputs, it need not be the same, and we call this difference as the transaction fee. So you can see in this particular picture, so Bob, actually he has received some 50 bitcoins through some business. Okay, through some investment, he has received some 50 bitcoins. Okay, now from Bob, he is going to, so the inputs is, so that means he is an unspent coins now, and 50 bitcoins he is having now. Okay, now he want to spend that bitcoins. Okay, and so for two outputs he's going to spend. So usually what happens when you are using a physical coin, so you are having 100 rupees note, and you go to a shop and you purchase it for some 30 rupees. Okay, you purchase something for 30 rupees. So the shop owner will again give back you the 70 rupees. Okay, the change. Okay, the remaining amount or the change you will be getting from the shop owner. Okay, so similarly here also, in Bitcoin also, when you spend, you need to get the change, right? So now that change, that is going to be automatic, that has to be given again to your own address. Okay, your own Bitcoin address. It may be the same address in which you are doing the transaction, or to some other new Bitcoin address. So I think in the last class we have discussed. So when you are creating this Bitcoin address, for every transaction, it should be a new Bitcoin address. Okay, you should not use the same Bitcoin address for every transaction. So for every transaction, we need to do we need to have a new Bitcoin address. So for this transaction A, you will be using a Bitcoin address. Okay, you'll be using a Bitcoin address, and the amount that he is having is 50 Bitcoins. So what is the amount he's going to spend is only 0.5 Bitcoins. Okay, he's going to send it to Alice only 0.5 Bitcoins. So how much he will be having as remaining? That is, he'll be having 49.5 Bitcoins. Okay, 49.5 coins will be he'll be having as change. So that will be, so one spending is going to Alice, okay, in terms of 0.5 Bitcoins, and another output we are having, that means it is going to be, so we have seen that output is something like crediting it to a Bitcoin account. Okay, so out of this 50 Bitcoin, he's crediting 0.5 to Alice account. Okay, to Alice Bitcoin. And another, so the remaining thing, how much we'll be having? 49.5. That is actually, that has to be with us. Okay, we are spending only 50 rupees, and remaining 50 has to be with us. Okay, so so here the 50 pies. Okay, we can say, so out of 50 rupees, only 50 pies he is giving to someone else. So remaining 49.5 again belongs to me only. So this 49.5 has to be again credited to my own account. So that means that in that time we can use some other Bitcoin address. Okay, but that should be created from my public key. Okay, so already we have seen how to create the Bitcoin address in the previous class. So from the public address, we need to apply the hash algorithm twice. So then we will have to apply the base 58 encoding scheme. Okay, and then we'll get a Bitcoin address. So we are going to output the remaining change to my own Bitcoin address. Okay, a new address. So on the other hand, on the other side, okay, if now Alice has received this 0.5 Bitcoin from Bob. Okay, so for her, that is the input now. So because this is unspent, okay, see, she's receiving from Bob, and now she is holding that 0.5 Bitcoin, but it is an unspent one. She wanted to spend it. Okay, and so similarly, she has got some 0.1 Bitcoins from some stranger and 0.2 Bitcoin from her sister. Okay, so she is having all these inputs. She's see, she'll be able to spend all this money. Okay, now the output, so what she's doing, all these 0.8, okay, adding together we get 0.8 Bitcoins. So all these she's sending it to her employee. Okay, so now Alice is spending 0.8 Bitcoins to her employee. Okay, so this is how the transactions will happen. Now what the employee can do, he can again pass it on to some other person. Okay, so like this, the money will be transferred to many persons, but we'll be able to identify who has started the transaction or from whom this coin has been started rotating to other people. Okay, so here some little explanation is given. So we have so Joe is a person who has he has received some 0.1005 Bitcoins in his previous transaction. Okay, he has received from someone else. So after receiving Joe, now he is giving to Alice. Okay, so Alice address he is having. So output this money, this 0.1005 Bitcoin is sent to Alice address. But we should know that we cannot we cannot send all the entire thing to the person. We need to also pay the transaction fees. So the transaction fees will also be taken from your account. Okay, so the transaction fee, so now what happens, the to Alice address only 0.1 Bitcoin is sent, and the remaining 0.0005 Bitcoin is used as a transaction fees. Okay, Now, so now Alice has got this money. How much? 0.1 bitcoins. Okay, so this is her input now. Okay, so the output in one transaction becomes the input for another transaction. So now this becomes the input for Alice, and she is going to give to two addresses. Okay, one is, as we have seen in the previous slide, one she wanted to spend it to Bob. Okay, so to Bob she wanted to send 0.015 bitcoins. So remaining she will have a 0.085 0 bitcoins. Okay, so after spending 0.0150 bitcoins, she will be having the remaining amount should be 0.850. Okay, this many bitcoins she would need to have as a change. But as we know, when this transaction of 0.015 has happened, a transaction fees has to be paid. Okay, so transaction fees, it is actually the difference between the inputs and the outputs. Okay, so already we have seen the difference between the inputs and the outputs will give you the transaction fees. Okay, so the transaction input, what is the input here for Alice? 0.1. Okay, 0.1000 bitcoin, and the output is how much she has sent? 0.0150 bitcoin she is spending. So remaining 0.085. In that transaction fees is the total output. What is the total output we are getting here? The total output, input minus output. Okay, so 0.100 minus sum of these two outputs. Okay, so that will be equivalent to 0.0005 bitcoin. So that becomes the transaction fees. So now for Bob, he has received it from Alice, then he is spending it to Gobesh, and also the remaining change he will be sending it to his own new bitcoin address. Okay, so the transaction fee. So like this, the chain of transactions, it happens after it starts in network. This you do not need. So the transaction life cycle. Okay, quickly I'll tell you. So now when a user or a sender wants to send a transaction, he can use a wallet. Okay, as I told you, like how you have a purse to hold your money, we for this bitcoins we have some digital wallets. Okay, the wallet softwares or some other interface also can be used. Now before doing this transaction, that has to be, the transaction has to be signed with the sender's private key. Okay, and then that transaction is broadcasted to the Bitcoin network. Yes, has anyone told anything? Okay, so the transaction will be broadcasted into the network. Then the mining nodes will be there in the network. They will mine this transaction. Okay, so this will be included in the next block to be mined. And once that block gets filled, it will be, all the transactions in that block will be mined. Okay, so after mining, this will be again for confirmation, it will be broadcasted to all the nodes in the network, and at least we need to have six recommendations or the 6 confirmations. Why it is so is that we have seen that the double spending problem was there with the digital currency, but when several confirmations was happening, you will be able to know it is not exactly 6. Okay, even if one confirmation is there, then we can add it to the block. But when there are more number of confirmations, so what happens is we'll make sure that there is no double spending. Okay, because it was validated by more number of people. Okay, so that is one thing that has happened at the end. Okay, finally the confirmations start to appear in the receiver's wallet, and after approximately, okay, so 6 is not compulsory, but when we do that, we'll be able to eliminate the double spending problem. Okay. Okay, the transaction structure we'll see in the next class. It's time. So let me take the attendance. Kindly give your attendance. Pragna,
Present, ma'am.
Neela Sumant,
Present, ma'am.
Jomin Jose,
Present, ma'am.
Manoj Preetham, Manoj.
Present, ma'am. Present, ma'am.
Okay, Jerome Andrew, Jerome Andrew, Nelson Darius, Gemini Annie,
Present, ma'am.
Sheshandri Kumari,
Present, ma'am.
Annie Cruz,
Present, ma'am.
Jogi Madhumita,
Yes, ma'am.
Venkata Mukesh, Venkata Mukesh,
Ma'am, present, ma'am.
Naveen Kumar,
Yes, ma'am.
Satish Kumar Reddy,
Yes, ma'am.
Preetham,
Present, ma'am.
Jeffrey Jebastin,
Present, ma'am.
Benzam Raj,
Present, ma'am.
Angeline Subagar,
Present, ma'am.
Ujjal,
Present, ma'am.
Laswita,
Present, ma'am.
Joel Sam,
Present, ma'am.
Steve Abraham,
Present, ma'am.
Aditya, 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 Bevin Jeff,
Present, ma'am.
Soumya,
Present, ma'am.
Sneha,
Present, ma'am.
Joseph Rajan,
Present, ma'am.
Karen Beulah, Karen Beulah, Christo Saharia,
Present, ma'am.
Divina,
Present, ma'am.
Alex Kuriakos,
Present, ma'am.
Bharat,
Present, ma'am.
Ashish Kumar,
Present, ma'am.
Manuel Raja,
Present, ma'am.
Jabez Samuel,
Present, ma'am.
Sam Jonathan,
Present, ma'am.
Vigneshwar,
Present, ma'am.
Chinmohan Lal,
Yes, ma'am.
Letitia,
Present, ma'am.
Christina Sherin,
Present, ma'am.
Ashley,
Present, ma'am.
Hayden Rex,
Yes, ma'am.
Sriram Prasad,
Yes, ma'am.
Jemima Elizabeth,
Present, ma'am.
Harsha Anna,
Yes, ma'am.
Rajat Nair,
Present, ma'am.
Rishabh Nair,
Present, ma'am.
Manoj Abraham,
Present, ma'am.
Bibia Susan,
Present, ma'am.
GB Thomas,
Present, ma'am.
Selvam Abisha,
Yes, ma'am.
Abhilash,
Present, ma'am.
Don Milton,
Present, ma'am.
Genovin,
Present, ma'am.
Darwin,
Present, ma'am.
Lamek Vedaraj,
And ma'am.
Maria Santosh, Maria Santosh.
Present, ma'am. Present, ma'am.
Okay, Sasidhar Reddy,
Present, ma'am.
Austin,
Present, ma'am.
Kambam Sanjay,
Present, ma'am.
Kevin Paulson,
Present.
Sri Sai Rahul Reddy,
Yes, ma'am.
Kavin,
Present, ma'am.
Johnson,
Present, ma'am.
Lewis Kishore,
Present, ma'am.
Sai Srijan,
Present, ma'am.
Harish Abhishek, Harish, Sriram, Sriram.
Present, ma'am.
Okay, the absentees are 180, your 18 CS
Ma'am,
180, 19.
URK
Yes,
1029 present, ma'am. I had a network issue. I got disconnected.
okay, ma. Okay, so 18 CS 180, 193, 1017, 124.
Ma'am, 193 is present, ma'am. 193.
193, you have gone when I called you.
Ma'am, I had a network issue. I had to rejoin, ma'am.
Okay. 1017, 125.